comments too. All right, it's time for another live with Diabetes 180. And as always, I want to remind all our viewers to let us know where you're watching from if you'd like to. We always like to greet our viewers, and especially the ones who are recurring. Make sure you're putting the message in the chat. Not everyone can see the chat message because this is streaming on different platforms. All right. And so Miss Joanne is with us today. All right. Our functional nutrition counselor, right?
That's right.
Right. Yeah. So, and we're going to learn, I think, a lot from our conversation about something that a lot of people are struggling with, right? Stubborn weight loss, and I think it's really important to talk about. I was looking at a statistic recently from the CDC, and would you be surprised, Joanne, to know that up to the latest, surveys, up to 73%, I think a little over 73% of Americans are overweight.
Actually, that does not surprise me. I kind of been keeping up with the statistics, and this being something that I help people with, I'm just aware, and I realize that wow, it's really an epidemic.
It's a big problem. It's a big problem. So before we go into your recommendations for our viewers who are struggling with stubborn weight loss, let us know what is, and I need the education myself. Okay. So what is functional nutrition? What does that mean? Like, yeah, and then you could tell us how you got into it,
Yeah, sure. Well, functional, there's functional nutrition, functional medicine. When you put functional into the picture, what it is we are actually practitioners that are looking for the root cause, of illness. What's the underlying, what's the reason behind it, why you're experiencing these symptoms. Because a lot of times when we go to, our doctors or our health practitioners, they give the diagnosis, and then there's medication, that's given, and the medication helps, it's very helpful. But the problem with that is that it's not always taking away the symptom. It's kind of like covering it up, kind of putting a Band-Aid on it. That's why you end up having to continue with the medication. There's no stopping, you got to take it for the rest of your life, or, the condition might go away, but it comes back again, later. So what we do is just looking for that root underlying, what's the reason behind it. And then we go to treat that so that it clears up, and it clears up for good.
I like that. So you're not just pulling, when we got those stubborn weeds in our yard, we're not just pulling at what's showing up the ground. You're trying to uproot the root cause. I like the saying, the root cause of illness. Unfortunately, is not a focus in modern medicine, traditional medicine. We focus on symptoms, managing symptoms, right? So that's really nice, man. That's a nice way of addressing issues, right? Finding the root cause. So what got you into it in the first place? Yeah.
Well, honestly, I've always been interested in health. I have 4 children, which are pretty much grown now. The oldest is 24. The youngest is about 16. But before then, when they were younger, I homeschooled them up until, they reach high school. And so I just always had this mindset that I wanted to be able to give them the best advantage. We think that way about our children, and I wanted to give them the best advantage from an educational perspective, but also from a health perspective, because I knew that if they were well, healthy, then they were going to be well, mentally and emotionally, the brain was going to be able to work well. They were going to be able to learn, absorb, remember. And I just felt like that was a way in which I can give them a good start and a head start. And I wanted them to be able to practice good eating habits and be able to just incorporate that, into make that into good habits, because, the habits that you have and you develop, when you're young as a child, that carries over into your adult life.
That's awesome. So obviously you have this formal training, but the reality is for the last 20 plus years, you've been focusing on natural health, natural remedies, natural ways of healing the body and providing the best advantage, right, in this disadvantaged world when it comes to being healthy. So you probably have a lot of experience and knowledge. And it's interesting that you say that you got that inspiration from your children, because it makes sense. I know as a provider myself, working in family medicine, parents tend to be a lot more concerned with their children's health than their own.
That makes sense.
Right. You could expect, most people are not very compliant when it comes to a doctor's advice, but you tell a parent that this child needs this medicine, they're going to make sure that kid gets that medicine. So
Yeah.
like, you know,
Yeah.
it makes sense that that's what inspired
Yeah.
you. And I'm sure at the end of our talk, you could talk about your success with your own health and maybe your
Mhm.
children and other people you work with. But you do have a business now, right? You got that you help people to struggle with various ailments,
Yeah.
including weight loss.
Yes.
I'm sure you charge for your service, but today people
Mhm.
have an opportunity to get free information. All right. And I hope the
Exactly.
people
Yeah.
watching are going to take advantage of that. So, you guys who are watching, if you have questions, Joanne is here to answer them. So take advantage of that. Sometimes also, Joanne, we get a lot more viewers when the live is rebroadcasted. So I'll be able to field those questions throughout the week, and and maybe even refer to you to answer them. Okay, but I'm
Yes.
sure you're probably going to answer a lot of questions already that people are asking themselves. But you guys who are watching, we're here to answer questions for the next about 20 minutes. All right, so let's start with the most obvious question. So we talk about how many people are overweight.
Mhm.
Um, it's a huge pandemic, not just an epidemic at this point. Why? Like, I'm sure 73% of America is not deciding, hey, it'd be really cool to be overweight. Like,
No. Uh,
it's
no.
not. We're not doing it on purpose,
Mm-mm.
right? What do you think is a
Mm-mm.
cause? Talking about the root causes. What's the cause of obesity and that stubborn weight loss we can't lose?
Mhm. Yeah, well, one of the biggest things is just the media, the advertisement.
Mm,
We're on our cell phones. I can't really say we're watching TV anymore, but even within the cell phones, there's so much advertisement there, and a lot of that advertisement is food, and the food that they're advertising, unfortunately, is not always a healthy food. It's your fast food restaurants. It's your McDonald's or Whataburger or Burger King or things like that. So just by seeing this in our face all the time, by beholding you become, every time you see something, you think of it. And then, especially when they try to make it look very attractive and juicy and delicious, you look at it and you start getting hungry. So that's a big part of it too.
yeah,
It's just, we're just being flooded,
yeah,
with that kind of food before us.
yeah.
And the other thing too is because over the years, the amount of processed food that has become available to us has increased so much. There's so much more. I mean, I can remember just thinking back, when I was a child and I see what's in the supermarket now. I guess we just live in a society where um, we're not really home anymore. Mom's not home anymore. So we grab those quick, stick it in the microwave, items or boxed items. And those processed foods, they tend to have the saturated fats, and not the fats saturated, but the trans fats and the hydrogenated fats, and all these processed foods that are not good for us, that contribute to our being overweight. So
Mm.
those are some of the two main things, that
Yeah.
I think it just makes it very difficult, make it a challenge for us to be able to eat healthy.
I think that's definitely true. I mean, even there's studies that show it. Like it's during I can't remember which years they started exploding processed foods and food, and basically how food was monetized. I can't remember the exact year that CEOs and all these food companies can monetize food by calorie count. That we have the same correlation of weight explosion, but it's just all around us. People have called it a toxic food environment that we live in, and
Yeah,
makes it very, very hard to not overeat and not be
yeah.
overexposed to calories.
Mhm.
We all live in this toxic food environment, so we're going to suffer the consequences of our environment, osmosis, right? Um,
Right.
so yeah, I agree with you. I think those are the two things that people struggle with. I don't know if any viewers watching have any opinion on that too. Why are so many people overweight? If they disagree, but yeah, I think it's what you said. Number one, everywhere you go, there's advertisements that for the foods we're trying to get rid of. So how many of us have tried to quit something? We say, I'm never going to drink that or eat that again, and then you find yourself craving it.
Yeah.
because you probably saw it 3 times on your way to work.
Mhm. And speaking of craving it too, another factor, another reason is the way they make the food, they design it. They actually have, staff, I don't know, psychologists and the
Yeah,
marketers, they come together and they are trying to put the perfect combination of salt, sugar, and fat within a food so that when you go and take that first bite, and that second bite, you're gonna find that you're gonna have to finish the whole bag,
yeah.
and then
Oh my
maybe
gosh, you're talking about me?
bag. and and then you think about it when the next day comes, when you start getting hungry, you're gonna think about that food.
Good,
So
yeah,
they actually design the food so that we become addicted to
yeah.
it.
Many
Because
people don't know that. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
because I mean, the more you buy it, the more money they
They
make.
make, yeah. So it's they're doing it very too well. I think that for the biggest problem I used to have is potato chips, and I think that that's the trifecta of sugar, salt, fat combination. That
Yes.
you could literally just eat a bag of chips and not stop, even though you're not hungry. You're just eating and
Yes.
eating and eating, and so but it's a problem for a lot of us. So we recognize the problem, and I'm sure a lot of us are trying our best to control the problem, but we're failing,
Yeah.
right? Um, Obviously, with the number being of obesity and overweight people in America being so high. So, is it willpower? Is it knowledge? Is it people don't care? I don't know. Uh, why is it some that our efforts, typical efforts, diet, exercise, why are these? Why are our current methods not working? Why is this weight loss so stubborn? And I think we have a question here too for NM Jean. Hey, how you doing? What's the best way to lose weight for an obese person during pregnancy? Is a good thing to lose weight this period? We'll address that for sure. So think of that. Maybe we can address that. But just answering the question why our current methods failing. The traditional diet, exercise. Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah, well, I definitely would say that it's a lot more than just willpower. For
Mhm.
anybody out there that struggles with it, the struggle is real.
Yeah.
Like I just mentioned, they're making the food so that you are addicted to it. I think our lifestyles, our busy lifestyle, sometimes our lunch breaks are just half an hour. And when we are just going so long without eating, or we don't get to eat enough, we get to the point where we're just starving. Our body was designed for us to be hungry. But then you get so starving that you just want to grab the first, chocolate bar or cupcake, and
Mhm.
and it's hard, to
Yeah.
not stop yourself. But so yeah, just society and the environment we live in, just some of the things that we mentioned, that's what makes it hard. It's almost like we are in a society where we're kind of like set up to fail, I would
Mhm.
say. But even for those that end up trying to do a little bit of weight loss, I know sometimes we kind of buckle down and say, oh man, this has gotten too
Nothing
bad.
to control.
I
Yeah.
have to just lose 10 pounds. And then we start, and we're not losing it, or it's coming off very slowly, or we do at the beginning, but then we plateau. So the reasons why that's happening is because um, it's going on a diet or trying to lose weight. It's more than just reducing the amount of calories that I'm bringing in, which means, eating less, or just making sure I exercise more, which, is going to make you burn off the calories. That's the first thing we think of. Okay, let me eat less and let me exercise more. But in reality, um, losing weight is going can be a lot more than that, because there's other factors that come into play to help a person lose weight. So for example, are you sleeping? What is your sleep schedule like?
Mhm.
Interestingly enough, not getting enough sleep will affect your ability to lose weight. And
Mhm.
that is because, the studies have shown that there is this hormone that our body produces that tells us we're hungry. That's called ghrelin. And then
Mhm.
another hormone that's released when we're full, that's called leptin. So
Mhm.
leptin tells us, okay, we're not hungry anymore. We could stop eating.
Mhm.
Well, when you do not get enough sleep, that leptin reduces. The production of
Mhm.
that and reduces. So there's going to be a tendency for you to just want to eat and eat and eat. But also, when you're not sleeping enough, your levels of cortisol go up.
Mm.
That is just a hormone, another hormone. Our bodies just are all about hormones. That's a hormone that helps to give us the energy to just kind of get through the day, right? So that's why, like, toward the end of the day, after you've had a busy day, you're kind of like ready to just wind down and, okay, I want to take a break. I just kind of want to lounge out on my phone. And that's because your cortisol levels have gone down. So they go up in the mornings and they go down during the day. Now, if you sometimes, though, we might be watching a movie, we might be on our phone, end up not going to bed even though we're tired, and you kind of get that second wind. So what happens is that cortisol level kind of goes up again. It went down. It should continue going down, but now it went up again because you didn't go to bed. And having that extra cortisol in our bodies inhibits weight loss, and that is because cortisol is an anti-inflammatory, right? And when we have inflammation going on, inside of our bodies, part of inflammation is like swelling. So sometimes just that inflammation in and of itself manifests as, weight, extra weight and weight gain. That's why too, exercise is good, but if you are doing too much meaning, okay, let's say that you end up feeling sore 3 or 4 days after, and you've been exercising now for about a month. You should feel that soreness maybe like 1 day, 2 days at the most. Or let's say that you just dread having to go get up and go exercise again. Your routine is probably a little bit too much. And that can also cause inflammation. So, I've had a classmate say to me, they were runners, and they jog all the time. I guess, getting older, they ended up having to stop, the jogging. They had to do another form of exercise that was less, difficult, right? And they said that as a result, they lost like 6 pounds. And they said because that inflammation was finally able to go down.
Wow.
So
it's a big thing. Yeah.
Yeah. Stress is another thing that causes that cortisol to go up. Like the lack of sleep. And those are just a few things to name.
And I'll read a comment here. And Jean, we're going to address your question for sure. I think we could address a pregnancy question when we talk about what to do to lose the weight. Miss Jones says, that's what I'm going through right now. When I can't sleep due to chronic arthritis pain, and my blood sugars are crazy, and I've gained 40 pounds since last May while not changing anything about my eating habits or physical activity. I figured it has to be the cortisol.
Yeah, that sounds just like it too. I want to mention one other thing, as far as why we don't lose weight, because people tend to do this. It's very common practice. They decide to reduce their eating. They virtually starve themselves because they reduce their eating, but they're always hungry. Well, the body is always trying to maintain homeostasis, meaning it's always trying to maintain this balance. So to give you an example, if I get cold, what do I end up doing? I start to shiver, right? Or us, we start to shiver. That's the body's way of trying to warm itself up. On the other side of that too, what happens to us when we are especially hot? We start to sweat. Our body is reacting because it's trying to cool us down. Our body is always trying to find that homeostasis. Well, when we stop eating, or eat a lot less, in the beginning, we're going to lose the weight, but we start to plateau. And that's because the body starts to recognize, this is a pattern now. She's just
danger zone, right? Like red flags.
This is not just her not eating today or not eating yesterday. She's been at this for a while. So I guess maybe this is the way it's going to be. And your body starts to adjust. So whatever food goes in, it becomes like thrifty with it. It realizes, we need to make this stretch.
We got to adjust the thermostat a bit.
So then what happens is your metabolism slows down. And so now that your metabolism is slowing down, you're going to lose the weight slower, or you're not going to, it's not going to be as efficient.
That's
The
efficient.
fact that you're eating less. So
Yes.
that's
So
the big reason why it, like, they lose it and then they plateau.
I think from a recent presentation I watched on Ozempic and Wegovy and those weight loss drugs, usually weight loss starts to plateau around 12 or 13 weeks, where people have great results, and then several weeks later, it comes to almost a drastic stop.
Mhm.
And they have, again, what we're talking about today, the stubborn weight loss that's not going away. That's a
Mhm.
great explanation for that, because the body's now going into an emergency mode, saying, "Hey, this is the problem, Joanne. We both are believers. I know some of us are not Christian, or don't have belief in God, but I believe that God did not design us to starve ourselves.
No, he did not.
we,
Absolutely.
we were designed to
That's
eat,
what I try to teach
happy,
people.
to eat
Yes,
till our natural satiety
yes,
is fulfilled. So when you have lack of sleep, too much stress, and now you're trying to stop eating essentially, or cut back on calories, this is not how we're designed. So let's talk about the best way to work with our actual natural design,
mhm,
how we believe God created us to maximize weight loss and to keep a healthy weight. I think that's what we could close our show on, and give people some real answers, some real hope. I'll also say this as an example. Like, I remember recently somebody at church was telling me, and this was a very large individual, very large, okay, and he told me repeatedly that he does not eat. He says, Burtis, I don't eat. I,
yeah. I
I
believe.
don't I don't eat. Like, and I'm thinking at a certain point, like, so how you were still alive? Like, you gotta eat something. No, I just drink water. Now, obviously, some of that is probably a little bit, self delusion, right? Because you are eating. Obviously, you're alive. You're eating something. But I think we probably agree that the problem isn't what you're not eating,
Right.
right? you
Exactly.
know, we're not eating. We should be eating the abundance of the right things. But what is your take? What? Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So we don't need to starve ourselves. What we need to do is just eliminate or avoid the wrong foods and eat the right foods, or eat more of the right foods.
Mhm.
So what does that look like? So we want to try to not eat, the cakes and the cookies and the brownies, and, the foods that have a lot of flour in it. Basically, those are your high carb foods. And what we want to do instead, and then also too, we don't, well, I said it earlier, we don't want to eat any of the unhealthy fats. What we want to do instead is to eat, your fruits and vegetables, for one. So if you had like a nice big salad, you can actually fill up on a salad. I mean, if you get a bowl of it, and if
Mhm.
you feel like, oh, I feel like I can eat more, you can eat two
More.
bowls of salad, and
You-
it's going to be okay, because
yeah.
within that salad is a lot of fiber. And also, and it's not like a high, fattening food. You
Mhm.
also want to
Salad seems
incorporate.
boring. Like, how do you make salads fun? Like, I don't know. Salad just like seems boring, right?
Well, I call it a hearty salad. Yeah. I mean, if it's just like lettuce, tomato, carrots, yeah,
Yeah,
it's
traditional salads, right?
but I mean, you can put all kinds of stuff in there. You could put like pumpkin seeds, and you can put nuts inside of it. You can put cheese, or I use a non-dairy cheese actually,
Mhm.
and
Legumes,
yeah, beans, right? Yeah, you can put your
tofu,
chickpeas and
chickpea.
tofu, and so much stuff you can put in there.
You could put it on a bed of rice or quinoa, yeah.
Yes, yes,
Mhm.
you can add quinoa to your salad. Um, And then you also want to make sure that each meal, or during the mealtime, you incorporate a good fat and protein.
Mhm.
So, what those two ingredients especially do is it helps to hold you over. So that even after you're full from eating the two bowls of salad, you are not going to be hungry again until, a good 3 to 4 hours. Now, if all you ate was lettuce, tomato, carrots, yeah, you're going to be hungry again in an hour.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
you throw in, like we were talking about, you make it hearty. The good fat, so that would be like your avocado or avocado oil, coconut or coconut oil, or your olives or olive oil. You put in those oils, and then your protein could be any of your legumes, your beans, pinto beans, garbanzo beans, like we mentioned, or some people like to throw in there, some chicken. But I also do promote, plant-based. But anyway, you have your fat and you have your protein, along with your salad, and that will hold you over. So then what's happening is you're eating food until you're satisfied, but it's not going to make you fat. But at the same time, you're not going to be hungry and feel like you're starving.
Yes, that's it. And the only thing I would probably add to that is, like, on this channel, if we deal with diabetics who are on low fat diet, so they might be avoiding the oils, but there's still plenty of, in the plant world, healthy fats you can find, like you mentioned. But that's so important. Eating more. I think we need to stop focusing on eating less food, but focusing on eating more. Stop focusing on what you're not eating and start focusing on what are you eating.
Right.
And the categories of food you just mentioned: fruits, vegetables, whole grains, legumes, nuts and seeds, right? That five right there is huge. People say, does that mean I only eat salads? You only eat salads, you only eat grass. But you see what I make, like, yeah, there's full of variety, right?
Right. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, yeah. Someone says here, Miss Jones, I make the kitchen sink salad. I put everything in my salads. I love it. Chickpeas, broccoli, tahini, but the dressings is going to be huge, right? Tahini dress,
Right.
pumpkin seeds, cabbage, spring mix, radishes, tomatoes, mushrooms, tofu. Thank you so much, Miss Jones. There's so much variety in the whole food plant-based world. Sometimes red lentil, chickpea. All right, Miss Lattimore, thanks for watching. So yeah, I mean, it blows my mind how often people say there's nothing to eat when you're vegan. Oh, there's so much to eat. And the only diet, it's literally the only diet that's been proven in nutritional studies that you can eat more and actually weigh less. Right.
Right. Exactly. That's a pretty awesome combination, huh?
Yeah, it is. Right. So I think that's the problem. I think this is a problem with a lot of people's approach. They're just focused on eating less when they should be focusing on eating more of the right.
Of the right foods. Yeah.
So tell us some testimonials. So people you've worked with that had success, and maybe share your own. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
then once you're done with that, we're going to show people how they can follow you. So make sure you guys are watching it. Oh, the pregnancy question. Let's answer that quick. Can you answer that question? Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so let me see. All right, I see it. So, what's the best way to lose weight?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I would definitely, make sure that you continue to work closely with your doctor, because, typically you do gain weight, when you're pregnant, and we're kind of supposed to, because, we have the increased blood volume, we're nurturing and feeding a baby that's within side of us, and and just the fact that something is growing in you, that in and of itself there is going to be is going to increase your weight.
Right, yeah.
So I'm not sure, if it really is, the best time to be going on a diet. But again, like we were talking about earlier, I would encourage just do away, with those foods, or really minimize those foods that are not healthy for you, and just focus on eating the foods that are healthy for you. Sometimes just by doing that, makes you just lose weight by default. I kind of tell my clients, don't think about losing weight. Think about, okay, I want to be healthy. And then you lose weight by default.
That is it right there. I mean, if we stop focusing on the weight and just focusing on, hey, what high quality food choices, and making sure majority comes from whole food majority of your food comes from whole food plant-based sources, even while pregnant. These foods eating in abundance are safe. And actually, there's plenty of people who are whole food plant-based vegans while pregnant, and they see that they're able to minimize excess weight. There is going to be a weight gain. An average, usually, I think, is about 20 to 25 pounds. There's going to be a weight gain, but especially if you're starting off as obese, it is important to lose some of that extra weight to have a healthy pregnancy. So it's a great question there. Good question. So yeah, give us a testimony. Yeah.
Okay, yes. Well, I okay, I'll tell you about a client that I had once. Well, she was it was kind of when I first started, and so she was a friend of mine, and she would just kind of she would observe the way I was eating. I didn't even really tell her what I was doing, and so she had some questions every now and then. We'd invite her over our house sometimes,
Mhm.
and she just started changing. The way she was eating. She cut back on her meat. She got to the point where she wasn't eating any meat, and even went as far as being vegan. And as a result, she ended up being able to get off of a lot of her medications. She was taking medication for like anxiety and depression, and she was able to get off of it and minimize it. And she was really glad about that, because she felt like the medication was just kind of making her a little spacey, or making her have like brain fog.
Dog.
And
Mhm.
she was grandmother, age. She had grandchildren, and she just felt like she couldn't be there for them, or she couldn't,
Yeah.
play with them. But as a result of getting off the medication, she was feeling more energetic, clear mind, and felt like she can be there more for her
Yeah.
children. So definitely a huge difference. And she was very grateful to have learned what she
Back.
learned from me. So my own experience, really quick too, is that so I was struggling with a little bit of a yeast infection, and I went to get an over-the-counter medication, and took it for like a week. They have the 3 days, and they got the
Yeah.
week
Yeah.
version, and it went away, but it didn't completely.
Mhm.
And then I decided, I learned about this, the program that I eventually went in. They had like this 3-week program. They called it an elimination diet. And
Mhm.
they had us, the first week you had to eliminate I believe it was the gluten. The
Mhm.
second week, gluten and dairy. And then the third week, gluten, dairy, and sugar. And so I was off the sugar, for a while. Actually, I think the sugar one was the first one. So I was off it for at least 3 weeks. And I tell you, that cleared it up completely,
Yeah.
completely. It's amazing, because I thought, man, the medication didn't even work as well.
Yes.
But it was when I changed the diet
Yeah.
that worked like a charm, I'm going to say. Well,
Love it.
it was great. So
Yeah.
yeah, definitely
Yeah.
it makes a difference.
I love it. So, you work with people, you show them how to find the root cause of their illness and turn to nutrition for healing. And it's beautiful that nutrition is so powerful enough to heal not just one condition, but many, a plethora, right? And weight loss is a wanted side effect. So
Right.
let's share the people how we could follow you here on our summary screen by scanning this QR code. This will give you access to Joanne's website, where you can tell what else will they find on your website, Joanne?
What else will they find on my website?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so you will find, my services that I offer, and you will also find, I do have like the classes that I offer. I have group classes, I have individual counseling. A lot of my stuff is online, and I do have some of the pricing there as well. There's an opportunity there for people to schedule a free consultation with me. If you have questions and you weren't able to get them all answered here, feel free to schedule, a time. And, I'd love to be able to chat with you more. I'm always excited about educating. Um,
I should have had you as blown up. I'm learning how to use the social media. You're talking. Good. Why am I on the screen? But thank
I
you so
Yeah, I
much.
have a little information there about myself too, get to know me a little bit better. And there's a little video there too that goes into a little bit more detail about what I do, my services, and what it looks like.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. And then Miss Jean says, I had a similar experience, cut out sugar and gluten, and all the yeast infection, athlete foots, etc. was gone. It's powerful, man. Powerful stuff, guys. Powerful
It
stuff.
is
So
powerful.
I hope that you got the QR code. You guys can rewind back if you haven't gotten it. It's always going to be there on the playback. But Joanne, thank you so much for this time. We got to do this again. All right. It was fun.
Yeah, thank you. It
Yeah,
was
yeah.
great.
So as always, beloved, Viewers, I pray above all things that you may prosper and be in good health, even as your